But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign.
Well, I think it was pretty evident that Ron DeSantis really has put all of his campaign's focus into Iowa. And the guess there was that he had to win Iowa or he wouldn't have a chance to do much else. And I think that that was true. He had largely shut down his campaign in New Hampshire some time ago. He wasn't attending events in New Hampshire. He pulled his ads out of the campaign here. All of those things are indicative of somebody who's dropping out, not only of the election in New Hampshire, but dropping out of the race. And it probably took him a few days to really come to grips with expending all of that time and energy and money and things on running for president. You better think about it and talk it over before you finally make the decision to pull the plug on your campaign.
Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear.
Among DeSantis voters, throughout the course of this fall, about 2/3 of them said that Donald Trump was their second choice. So if anything, this is likely to help Trump. We showed today that Trump was up 50-39 over Haley. This is likely to increase Trump's lead. Now, it's still a couple days, and I have to put in all the caveats about voters in New Hampshire making up their minds late, but I think it would be difficult for Haley to get enough support from DeSantis dropping out to really significantly impact the race over the last couple of days.
That's our goal. That's what we're doing. We've got 2 days until New Hampshire goes to the polls, and we're going to make sure that we fight all the way until the last second.
I think it hurts her because she really has to win New Hampshire. Second place is not going to do anything for Nikki Haley. And frankly, even a close second isn't going to do anything. She needed DeSantis and Ramaswamy to stay in because those people were not pulling votes from her. They were pulling votes from Trump. So she needed to divide the Trump vote up more than it is. Now we're just seeing the consolidation of the kind of the people who are Trump supporters all along, and then the people who like the Trump administration, but they didn't like Trump himself so much. That's consolidating now because they have no other option.
And we just got some word that one of our opponents, a very capable person, is dropping out. Ron DeSantis. And Ron is dropping out, and in doing so, he endorsed us.
Well, it's good for him because the longer a nomination process goes on for any candidate, the harder it is, the less time you have, and the more money you've spent that could be spent to consolidate the party and focus on the general election. There's always the wild cards in New Hampshire, but the report that we put out with some of my colleagues at UNH this week showing that about 200,000 plus voters, potential voters, are new people that were not here in 2020. That always is a potential confounder of elections here. They don't show up on registered voter lists, so they're not being called in a lot of polls. We don't exclude people like that. We try to include all those people as well. But it's just important to recognize that there are some wild cards that go on in New Hampshire that make it different from other states.
Gave the most credible one because he was caught.
I think he ended it on a high note in a way of being, a patriot. There are going to be a lot of people in 28. But are you saying, has he done anything or said anything that would disqualify him in 20? Absolutely not. I think she would have a much bigger problem in 28, particularly now that she's running with the support of Democrats, millions and millions from Democrats. Republicans don't take that easily, nor do Democrats. Democrats want to select their candidate. Republicans want to select their candidate. And they don't appreciate it very much when you try to invade their primary and give them a candidate they don't want.
It reminds me a bit of that. I mean, he's made it very, very clear.
I saw that he had canceled some events, and I felt like something was up. I think it's good for him to go out on a high note because he came in a good second place in Iowa. I think he's got a long runway for a future political career. He's only 42 years old. He's got a young family. So I'm looking forward to supporting him again in the future, possibly 2028. But I'm going to switch my endorsement to Trump. I think Trump is the clear winner and what our constituents want.
We're so close to the primary. Why do it now? You know, what went into your decision? I have questions of what might be next for Ron. I personally don't think that he's done, but I am surprised that he did it with only having Iowa happened. Everybody, a politician, you and I, want unity. Donald Trump seems to not be able to unify the Republican Party, let alone the country. He's adopted, at least in my opinion, this idea of if you're not for us, you're against us. That seems to actually be more of his supporters and people that talk for him or about him rather than him. But he also has kind of gotten that if you're not for me, you're against me mantra. And I'm not a big fan of that.
I was looking forward to seeing him today because I came here to see all the candidates. But ultimately, I'm happy he dropped out. It's down to a two-person race. I would love to see the first female president of the United States.
Does that mean?
How are you, everybody? Oh, you know we've been doing great. We're leading by a lot. Like record-setting stuff. That's the way we want it. We had the big day in Iowa, and we're going to have a big day in New Hampshire, I think equal to. And we just got some word that one of our opponents, a very capable person, is dropping out. Ron DeSantis. And Ron is dropping out, and in doing so, he endorsed us.
Well, it's a little chilly, not as chilly as Iowa, but it's definitely colder than Florida was. Look, I'm not a political prognosticator. Here's the deal. Republican voters, we saw in Iowa, half wanted him, half didn't, roughly. The turnout was abysmal. There's terrible enthusiasm right now based off that result. We'll see what happens here. And I think it's because you have some folks on our side who don't want to do the Trump thing again. And they checked out. And they checked out of the caucus. These were folks we were courting to be able to come out. And they didn't because I think they bought into the idea of the inevitability.
Governor DeSantis, standing here today, do you believe that you can defeat Donald Trump and become the Republican nominee?
As long as I'm in the hunt, that tells me that I have that I'm seeing a pathway. The minute I don't, then I'm not just going to do this for just for my health. It's not that it was a weak result to win the caucus. It's a question of what does that portend for November and how the Republican base is going to be energized or not energized. We know the Democrats probably wouldn't be energized with Biden in the absence of a Trump nomination. I think that they would have trouble with turnout. But I think we also know that if Trump's the candidate, I think you're going to see big-time uptick in Democrat enthusiasm, and I think it's going to give them an advantage. All right, guys, I'm going to check out. Thank you.